Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have two episodes for you this morning. This one will have one article in it, and I put the URL in the description if you want to take a look at it. This is off of Natural News, and it is entitled, Journo-terrorism. New York Times calls for online trolls to sabotage Breitbart.com's revenues. The Journo-terrorists are hard at work at the New York Times, where the discredited fake news publisher is now openly calling for online trolls to sabotage Breitbart.com's revenues in order to shut down the site. One article, How to Destroy the Business Model of Breitbart and Fake News, celebrates the flagging efforts of anonymous Twitter trolls who have tried to target and intimidate companies whose ads appear alongside Breitbart news articles via third-party platforms, reports Breitbart.com. These would-be censors of the totalitarian left have decided that since they cannot defeat conservative news and arguments on the merits, they would prefer to eliminate them. The article includes instructions on how to join the anti-Breitbart effort, copied verbatim, Step 1, Step 2, from the anonymous activist Twitter page. Economic sabotage primary tool of destruction used by the communist Marxist left. The economic sabotage now being invoked against Breitbart.com by the New York Times is just one of many communist-style tactics being used to desperately attempt to silence the anti-establishment voices in the independent media. The Journo-terrorism organization is also aiding communist, socialist, feminist, LGBT, anarchist plans for Inauguration Day mayhem, reports the New American. The WWP is a small, hardcore communist party that has gained enormous influence over the past 2 decades by creating front group coalitions that exploit hot-button issues guaranteed to rile up the most combustible Clinton-Obama Democrats: open borders, LGBTQ issues, anti-war, racial injustice, anti-police, social justice, global warming, etc. The New York Times on November the 12th ran a story entitled, Protesters Take Anti-Trump Message to His Doorstep and Plan Next Steps, in which Times reporters in New York City, Los Angeles, Oakland, and Kansas City reported favorably on the riotous anti-Trump protests across the country. They refer to WWP's veteran communist organizer, Ben Becker, as an organizer with the Answer Coalition, an anti-war, anti-racism activist group based in New York. The Workers' World Party is not the only totalitarian-oriented organization promoting anti-Trump mayhem for Inauguration Day, not by a long stretch. Another veteran communist group, the Revolutionary Communist Party, or the RCP, is a violent Marxist-Leninist organization that idolizes Chinese mass-murdering dictator Mao Zedong, operating through a front organization, www.refusefascism.org. The RCP took out a full-page advertisement in the New York Times on January the 4th that is noteworthy on several points. First of all, the fact that the Times ran the ad at all, in as much as the Times declared policy is, we do not accept opinion advertisements that are attacks of a personal nature. New York Times now blatantly pro-communist, pro-fascist, anti-free speech, anti-American collaborators attempting to overthrow Trump's America. The upshot of all this is that the New York Times, alongside the Washington Post and CNN, is no longer hiding its true mission: the function as a journo-terrorism propaganda mouthpiece for the commie left, their desire to destroy the Trump administration and see President Trump personally destroyed, silence all independent media by sabotaging their revenue sources, monopolize all news by eliminating their competition, enslave America's population under the fascist left-wing communist regime, foment violent revolution by encouraging and advocating radical left-wing violence, mayhem, and uprisings that destabilize the legitimate U.S. government. President Trump Arrest the Journo-terrorists who are deliberately attempting to subvert and overthrow America. It's no longer a hidden agenda, my friends. New York Times is all in for Journo-terrorism and the whipping up of extreme violence, revolt, and even communist revolution in America. Once again, I repeat my call for the incoming President Trump administration to charge and prosecute Journo-terrorists for subversion and treason against America. We have to stop being so stupid that we allow radical communist collaborators to poison the minds of American people through supposed news outlets like the New York Times, CNN, and Washington Post, all proven propaganda collaborators who have desperately sought to subvert America. If you don't yet understand why we need to arrest and imprison Journo-terrorists, watch this incredibly important video on Soviet KGB subversion by Yuri Bezmenov, which is in this article, if you care to pull it up and take a look at it, who explains exactly how communist regimes subvert and overthrow targeted countries like the United States of America. The New York Times is proceeding exactly along this four-step plan and has very nearly completed its mission of complete normalization of communist ideology in America. Bezmenov is well known for saying the highest art of warfare is not to fight at all, but to subvert anything of value in the country of your enemy until such time that the perception of reality of your enemy is screwed up to such an extent that he does not perceive you as an enemy, and that your system, your civilization, and your ambitions look to your enemy as an alternative, not a desirable, then at least feasible. That's the ultimate purpose, the final stage of subversion, after which you can simply take your enemy without a single shot being fired. Read some notes from the video here. It says, espionage only occupies 10 to 15% of time, money, and manpower activities of the KGB. The other 85% of the KGB activity is subversion. The aim is to destroy the country of your enemy. Subversion activity is overt and easily observable. According to Western law, subversion is not a crime. Subverters are exchange students, diplomats, actors. Subversion is a two-way activity. The enemy must be willing to be subverted. You cannot subvert the Soviet Union because the borders are closed. Subversion can only be successful when the agent of subversion has a responsive target. The USA is a receptive target of subversion. Sun Tzu was the first expert in subversion in the ancient China. He said it is inefficient to fight on the battlefield. The basics of subversion are taught to every student of the KGB in the USSR. The four stages of subversion from Yuri Bezmenov, Soviet KGB subversion expert. Number one, demoralization. Takes 15 to 20 years to demoralize the society. It includes influencing, infiltration, propaganda, etc. of various areas where public opinion is shaped. Religion, educational system, social life, administration, law enforcement systems, military, and labor-employee relations. Exploit the people within the society who are tongue-tied, ideologically opposed to the system. Use small groups of agents from foreign nations. Distract people from real faith and replace it with artificial faiths and other systems. In education, distract them from learning something constructive, pragmatic, and efficient. Instead of mathematics, chemistry, history, teach them sexuality, home economy, anything to distract. In social life, replace traditionally established institutions with fake organizations. Take away the initiative from people. Take away the natural links between individuals and replace them with bureaucratically controlled systems. Establish social workers institutions ruled by bureaucracy. Eliminate the family and replace the main concern with the paycheck from the government. In government, replace elected officials with unelected bureaucrats who control the people. In the major media like New York Times, you don't have to be an excellent journalist. You have to be exactly a mediocre journalist. For the power structure, it is slowly eroded by those who do not have qualifications nor the will of the people. Law enforcement put into place slow substitution of basic moral principles where someone who used to be a criminal is now considered a victim. Labor relations destroy the traditionally established links of bargaining between employer and employee. Obedient workers follow the leaders. Democracy is not a system of equality. It's a system where diverse people of different backgrounds have the chance to compete and thrive. Number two, destabilization. Destabilize all the accepted institutions and organizations of your enemy. There is no crime if a professor introduces a course of communism or Marxism into a California college. The radicalization of negotiations between labor and employers, normalizing violent protests. The media places itself in opposition to society to alienate the people. Subversive sleepers now become leaders in society and actively include themselves in the political process. Now homosexuals make it a political issue to demand human rights and instigate violent clashes. Black against white, it doesn't matter. It's about creating antagonistic clashes. This is destabilization. The sleepers are KGB agents. They become leaders to destabilize the targeted nation. Thus, the agent is already a respected citizen of the United States. He even gets money from the government for his struggles labeled human rights. Number three is crisis. The process starts when the legitimate bodies of power cannot function anymore. Instead, artificial bodies are injected into society, such as non-elected committees. They claim power on how to run your life. If power is denied to them, they'll take it by force. They are often half-baked intellectuals from Harvard or somewhere. They think they know the answers to social problems. The population at large is looking for a savior to solve the crisis that has been artificially created. They call for socialist government, centralized power. A savior is needed. The savior is then provided as foreign nation or sleeper agents. They call it a revolution. They say, I will lead you. Are here. One, civil war, and two is invasion. Number four is normalization. The stage to make the subversion results seem normal to the people. At this point, the workers don't demand a revolution anymore. This is stabilizing the country by force. Activists, liberals, social workers, homosexuals, professors, and Marxists are being eliminated because they are not needed anymore. The new owners need stability to exploit the nation and take advantage of the victory. The Marxists shoot their own revolutionaries. Once the subverted culture is normalized, the only way to reverse the course of the country is through military intervention. The most difficult and simplest answer against subversion is to start it before the demoralization stage. Bring back religion to restore stability to society, halt cultural Marxism from marching forward. As part of normalization, allow the criminals to have civil rights and bring crisis to the country. To defend against this, do not allow them to take political power. Do not elect them into power. It must be driven into the heads of every American voter that a person like that is an enemy of the state. Restriction of certain freedoms would prevent sliding into crisis. To curb unlimited power of the trade unions would save the economy from collapse. To introduce a law to stop private companies of raping public opinions in the direction of consumerism. No company must have a right to force you into buying more unless you want. Demoralization is the easiest thing to reverse. Restriction of import of propaganda. The unrestrained import of Soviet journalists, it has to be stopped. They won't be offended. They will respect America more. My colleague appears on Nightline and Ted Koppel asked him, what do you think? What can he think? He's propaganda mouthpiece for the Soviet Empire. The process of demoralization will not start until the country prevents the importation of foreign ideology. You don't have to shoot every foreigner, but when he offers you junk in the disguise of shiny something, you have to tell him, no, we have our own junk. If the country is strong enough to stop importation of ideas which are foreign, then the whole chain of subversion can be prevented. Many societies throughout history collapsed the moment they lost religion. The idea of human beings as intelligent moral agents of God can prevent all the technology, and computers will not prevent collapse. No one will fight to defend 2 + 2 = 4, but millions will fight to protect God and religious faith. The answer to ideological subversion is very simple. You don't have to shoot people. You simply have to have faith and prevent subversion, not to be a victim of subversion. Strike not with force, but with superiority of your intellect. So that is that article for you, and there'll be another edition here in a little bit, another episode. If you like what we're doing, give it a thumbs up, share it on your social media. Don't forget to subscribe and click that little bell next to the subscribe button and check that box, and you'll get email messages every time I put a show up, and it'll keep you informed. We'll see you later.